kind of our happy
Okay.
place, but we'll keep going.
How are you?
Good, and you?
Good, good. I'm Fannie. Pleased to meet you.
Pleasure.
Thank you. I'm happy, and I'm just so grateful and I'm thankful that you chose me to be on the cover of your book. I would never have known somebody would choose me.
Why is that?
I don't know.
This is a visually stimulating documentary. I mean, every shot feels like a photograph that could be a still, that could be art that is on your wall. It takes Skid Row and makes what would be something that is considered an eyesore in LA into an art. She mentions being homeless as being a job, finding a place to wash, to sleep, maintaining the sobriety. You know, this woman has been living in a box for 15 years and she describes the fear she feels from maintaining that life. And she brings up things I never would have thought about how difficult it would be just to find a place to rest when homeless. And we see through her commentary that her choice to maintain sobriety is tied to the mentality of having resilience. And many who are in this situation have given up on life, so drug use becomes the only refuge. I love how full circle this woman has been in her struggles and turning it into outreach for women. It's a stark reminder how something like housing that many of us take for granted is a human right. And she has a face to this epidemic of homelessness in LA on Skid Row and really humanizes it. And as someone who's based in LA and, you know, have been to Skid Row, have volunteered at the missions and have seen it up close and personal, this documentary really takes something that looks a certain way and allows you to look in it in a different lens just based off the cinematography and then in the direction of the photography and it was beautifully shot.
I really liked that it was in black and white. I really liked the insertion of like the photos and different snapshots, these like candid moments that are captured of people in this community, people that are living on the streets. And this woman, she was such a beautiful subject, and I loved listening to her. I loved listening to her story. I loved her messaging and her compassion and empathy. She's lived a difficult life, but still manages to have this like really positive outlook and say, like life has blessed me in so many ways. And, using her whatever time and energy and resources she has, she's using that like not even for herself, but to put it back into her community and to support um, other people, women, in situations where they need support and help. And it's just like when you have nothing to give, but you give anyways, is like the most beautiful um, reflection of humanity. And she was just so sweet and humble, and she was like, I can't believe you picked me, like you picked me to talk about this, and just she absolutely deserves it.
This is a unique personal perspective on the homelessness epidemic. We follow the story of the struggle for being on the street for 15 years, the mental after effects, the addictions, fear, restlessness, being too drunk or too high in order to forget, some people who have given up on life. I love this black and white footage between the interview and the B roll and street photography. The extreme close ups make for a very intimate experience. Everyone should have a house. It should be a common good, regardless of where you come from. Everyone deserves protection, and you never know what's going to happen to you. Going to the bottom and having to pick yourself back up again. This sense of survival mode, choosing you and having hope. At the end of the day, we are all human, and hopelessness is not worth dying for.
The editing, framing, they really combine to create something very visually interesting that raises it way above like a standard talking head. But none of that kind of stylistic stuff undercuts the central topic, the central narrative. This really moving and insightful portrait into the realities of homelessness. There's real passion and real dignity there, but without ever losing sight of just how horrible being housed is. It's very moving to see her talk about, not being ashamed, that this isn't something that homeless people should be ashamed of, but that society should be ashamed of. Which I think was a very interesting way of reflecting on it. Hearing about her struggles about trying to keep clean whilst being on the streets. It's just utterly impossible to imagine how difficult that is. And just kind of to show out how extraordinarily difficult it is for people to get control of their lives. But then she kind of succeeded in an amazing way. So it ends up, despite all the hardships that she takes you through, it ends up getting this kind of very well-earned sense of optimism, which was genuinely moving.
I think it was very powerful, and it makes you think that there are a lot of people living in difficult conditions every day, and we still don't do enough to help them. So I think the message of the documentary is clear, and the way the documentary is shot and developed with the black and white and the mix between B-rolls and interviews, with the overall voiceover of the main character, I think it was really powerful, and it should be seen by as many people as possible, because the main idea is, the main message is, we have to do more to help these people, and I think that the documentary is really sending this message in a really powerful way.
I liked the black and white and the close-ups on this woman. I really liked some lines that she said. The lines that stood out the most were, you can do anything you want clean and sober. When you want to be clean and sober, you can be. Some people have just given up. So basically, man, where there's a will, there's a way, and you have to have a strong will when you get to that point. It's not worth dying for, and it's a job on a daily basis when you're homeless. And then why do you need housing? You need housing because you need protection. I liked all the photos that were shown throughout. I thought the photography was really great and different. I don't see that a lot in the documentaries, as far as I feel like these pictures were taken by a professional photographer for this specific documentary. It's really sad, because I do feel that it is hard to help the homeless if they don't want to be helped. And anybody who's on drugs or alcohol and is abusing it and doesn't want it to be off of it, we can't really help them. They have to help themselves. And it's a dangerous situation. Just like she said, even the homeless feel within their own community of homeless people, they don't feel safe. I really liked this documentary and the story here, and I'm so glad this woman is on her way, to a better life. And I just wish that for more of the homeless people, because like she said, it's just not worth dying for.
The B-roll was fantastic. The choices that y'all made, the way y'all shot it with the extreme close-ups, getting that texture, putting us in the space was really a great choice. Also, I would say the strength of a documentary rides and dies on the subject matter. And this was fascinating, gripping even, intriguing subject matter, going inside the experience of a person experiencing homelessness. Because people always, make assumptions, this, that, and the third, try to avoid them, whatever people do when encountering somebody experiencing homelessness. But this takes us inside that journey from somebody who lived that experience, and it was very eye-opening and emotional and moving. Also, she was spitting, so great choice of a person to lead this, you know what I mean, to be the subject of this. She was spitting some truths, yo.
She is very interesting and has a lot of interesting stories, which is displayed so evidently. I like that her interviews and verite scenes are in black and white, but the photos are in color. I think that does well to encapsulate the subject's beauty, but put it in display, their true value and what they have to offer in spite of their current situation. I think the story being displayed is very touching and convincing to convicting to viewers and can adjust their thoughts on people who are suffering.